Good evening. I'm Shirley Romaine, and this is Artscene on Long Island, a program in which each week we bring you the artists and performing arts groups who enrich the quality of our lives here on Long Island. My guest this evening is Beth Jucovy. She is a dancer, she is a choreographer, she is the director of her own company, Dance Visions, and of her own school, Children Dancing. Welcome, Beth, to Artscene.
Thank you.
I'm delighted that you're here. It's been a long time since we've talked about dance.
My pleasure.
So it's a very important thing for me. It's really how I got started, so I have great empathy and interest. Like all dancers today, you know, I was reading about your background. You do it all. I mean, you do ballet, you do jazz, you do modern, and of course your specialty is the dances of Isadora Duncan. Were you always interested in dance? How did it begin?
Yes, I believe I was. When I was 5 years old, the local Y in Far Rockaway, which is where I was living, was giving classes. The teacher there happened to be Julia Levine, who is a major Duncan exponent, and of the Duncan work. And it was wonderful as a child because the work is based on natural movement. You know, when you're 5 years old, you should not be doing ballet positions or any of that yet. And it was really to dance, to express the music. It was polkas, skips, and it was something I just loved. I fell in love with it, and I kind of knew that's what I was going to do at that age.
Well, but then you went on, I mean, to study other technique, to do other things. I mean, after that work, what did you do, and how long did you do that?
Yeah, I did that till about 11 years old, so 6, 7 years. Anna Duncan also came to Rockaway and started to teach about 5 children. She wanted to make a film documentation of the Isadora Duncan children's dances, and working with her at that age was something else because she was, you know, just fanatical about the Duncan work.
Yeah, well, now Anna Duncan.
Anna
How
Duncan.
How does she fit into the family?
She is one of the adopted daughters of Isadora Duncan.
Was she one of the Isadorables?
Yes.
Oh, well.
Yes.
Well, well.
She was an absolute artist, and it was great working with her, although it was very emotional too. But by the time I was around 11 years old, they both weren't teaching there anymore, and that's when I went into ballet. I auditioned for the National Academy of Ballet, Thalia Mara, and I got in. I got a scholarship, so I started to go to school in the city and learn ballet technique from 11, very seriously every day. It was academics as well as dance. For 2 years, strict Russian training.
Yeah, how did that sit with what you had done before? Was the Duncan a good preparation for that? Did you find it was a whole other mindset? I mean, talk about that.
Yes, it was definitely a whole other mindset. The Duncan work was freedom and dancing and the joy of dance. And then suddenly I was in this atmosphere where we had to wear uniforms and hair braid loops and bows in the hair, and really a Russian style training, which suddenly, you know, is kind of shocking.
It's not free.
No,
not free at all.
But you know, a dancer needs that.
Yeah.
These days, a dancer needs that. Get the technique, the pointed feet, the line. It was a hard adjustment, and then I left after 2 years and went to the local school, and then I went to performing arts, where, I mean, I had ballet training in the meantime. I'm kind of happy I did both. That it kind of meshed together as far as where I am today.
You know, as I said at the top of the program, I think dancers now really have to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
You know, there is no more saying I'm a modern dancer or
That's
I'm a ballet
right.
dancer, because
That's
it's all together, you know,
and
it's
that's
everything.
a new development. I mean, it wasn't like that when I was in my 20s.
You know, just thinking about it, I saw the Feld Ballet a couple of weeks ago, and he certainly is a master of the ballet. I mean, I think he's a genius. But so much of it is modern. I mean, there were 2 of the ballets that were not done on point. I mean, they were done, you know, in just regular ballet shoes. I mean, just regular dance slippers, you know. So he has incorporated so much of modern dance, as has all of ballet.
That's great. I'm really glad about that.
Yeah, I think so. But so the lines are blurred, and the bottom line is that you have to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit. I'm intrigued with the Duncan technique, which is the technique that was evolved by the great pioneer of modern dance, who was Isadora Duncan. Tell us about the technique. We're going to have a chance to see you do some of it, but tell us about the use of your body, of the music, which is so important, the dramatic structure. Tell us a little bit about
Well, all those things you just said. First of all, it uses, you know, the thing about modern dance when it first started becoming popular, it uses the body, it uses the torso. In ballet, everything was so straight, and it was really a leg technique where your posture is very straight. Suddenly, you know, the torso starts moving, which I think is a very wonderful development, because it's half the body,
Right.
and it's, you know, it's
Right.
so much emotion could be expressed that way. Your question again?
About the body, about music, and about music,
right,
the importance
right.
of music.
That was another major thing, that the technique almost came out of the music. You hear the music and you embody it when you're dancing. And I love music. I feel like, for me, it's also the thing that gets me moving. The musicality is you become the same. Dramatic quality as well. She had such a large range, Isadora Duncan. Dramatic pieces, light pieces, pieces about nature, pieces based on mythology, and it's just so important. I love drama as well, so in that way, it all meshed for me.
You know, I think it's hard. We're going to look at a piece now. One is coming up. I'd like you to tell us about it. It's hard to imagine the rigidity, and I don't mean to knock ballet in any way, the rigidity against which she rebelled. I mean, how really revolutionary that dance was when she first did it. Now tell us about this first piece of yours that we're going to see, which is a Duncan piece.
Okay, this is the Revolutionary Etude. This is very dramatic. It's one of her later pieces. When she first started choreographing, many of them were very light and based on water, and they were very beautiful. And she didn't use the earth so much. Well, later on in her career, the earth and gravity became very important. And this piece was done after her 2 children tragically died. They were drowned. And her whole way of choreographing changed, her whole way of thinking changed. It was also done in Russia after the revolution. And at that point, she did political dances. She matured in her life, and she matured in her choreography
Okay, and
as
this
well.
is called?
This is the Revolutionary Etude, which is sort of like awakening the people to their circumstances and to make changes.
Okay.
You know, it's very much in the time.
All right, let's have a look at it. beautifully danced. Just beautifully danced. It's so interesting. The music is
Scriabin.
I think most people viewing that today have no idea how difficult it is. And I think one of the ideas is, I mean, the dance is not to call your attention to the gymnastics and how difficult it is. And now, of course, where dancers are always jumping through hoops and doing such extraordinary things, you have to kind of sit back and really accept it on its own terms, don't you?
Right, exactly.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Really beautiful.
You know, Julia, who taught it to me, will only teach it, does not let everybody do it. She only teaches it to a very few amount of people. And I believe it's because it has to be so sincere.
Right.
It has, you know, you have to really, like method acting, I mean, you really have to feel it. If you're faking it, it's terrible.
It shows, and you think it's just the corniest thing in the world, which of course this wasn't. It was beautifully done, just beautifully done. As a matter of fact, I'm interested in you as a performer. I wonder if you talk a little bit about that, because I know you've performed on Broadway, on TV, at dance festivals. You've performed in Austria, and Germany, and in Israel, where you've had great success. But you've danced other things. I mean, you've done ballet, you've done modern, you've done jazz, you've done all. Tell us about yourself as a performer.
Okay, well, I love to perform. I feel no matter what I'm doing, all these different styles, as I said before, it has to be sincere. When I'm dancing on stage or performing, I find something in myself that hopefully is a universal thing. I don't know if it is, but that's what I feel anyway.
Well, it's very like acting.
It is, and it's becoming one with the music, and one with what you're expressing through your body.
Now I know when I saw you first, it was last year at the Women's Space Equality Day, and I think you did something. It was in conjunction with a film, and part of the film was about Anna Sokolow.
Right.
So I think you did a dance of hers.
Yeah.
Now you had studied with her, and then I think you did a Duncan piece.
Right.
Is she someone you've danced with her company and you've done her dances? Anna Sokolow, is she somebody that you had worked with?
Yes. Actually, in Israel, I was performing. I did a solo concert in Israel, and she saw it, and came backstage, and we developed a relationship then. And I love her work. I feel it has certain qualities that are similar to the Duncan work, but it's also different. It's much more pessimistic.
Oh, I was going to say darker.
Yeah,
her vision
darker.
is a much darker one. Yeah.
And we started to work together, and she taught me some solos. Again, it's sincerity in the work. When you work with her, if there's a moment where you're indecisive or you don't quite know what you do, it shows. I mean, she gets so angry.
That isn't filled. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I had worked with Anna years and years ago.
And you get into the role, and the movement has to come from what you would do in that role. It's her choreography, but the way it's done is so important.
Yeah.
It's much more modern music than the Duncan work. So it's another way of listening to the music, which I love working with music in different ways. And it's just not as optimistic. The Duncan work has a happy ending, sort of.
Well, you know, it's almost as I was watching you, I was thinking about the fact that we go to the museum, and in the museum we see art from all of the eras. We go to concerts, and if we're lucky, we get to hear music from all of the eras. But with dance, somehow, I mean, this should be in a museum of dance. I mean, it is part of the repertoire of dance, these Duncan pieces, Anna's pieces, you know, all of the pieces where there isn't a company to keep performing them. But it just doesn't happen. They kind of fall between the cracks unless there are people like you and others who kind of keep bringing them to our attention. I do want to just read, you gave me some very nice material, but your reviews for doing the Duncan material are really wonderful. The New York Post, Beth Jucovy danced with clarity, musicality, and conviction. She made no attempt to camouflage the simplicity and passion of the steps, but filled the movements with quiet intensity. I think that's very nice and really says it. And the Jerusalem Post, when Jucovy danced Duncan pieces, they not only looked authentic, but they showed us a lost art. And then, of course, Jack Anderson in the New York Times praised your work. And we have another dance, a Duncan dance. We don't have you doing other pieces, but we have a lovely Duncan dance. Tell us about it, and then we'll look at it.
This is the Butterfly Etude by Chopin. When she did the Chopin pieces, it was sort of autobiographical. And at that point, when she did this one, it was about fleeting qualities, fleeting love, or that you go on, life, you know, you can never hold it still, and the feeling of things going on very, very quickly. And she called it the Butterfly Etude. It's not supposed to be a butterfly, but that quality.
That's what it's called, the Butterfly Etude. All right, let's look at it, because we have it on tape. Lovely.
Thank you.
Just lovely. And so at one with the music.
Really?
Really.
Well, that's what it's about.
Yeah, really, really lovely.
Thank you.
That was done where? At Grace Avenue Park
right.
in Great Neck. Yeah. I want to talk to you about about your choreography, because I know that's another major interest of yours. When you create a dance, what is it that gets your creative juices flowing? I mean, is it the music? Is it an idea? Is it an experience? Is it a deadline? You know, you have to have a dance for such and such a time. All of the above or none? Tell us about it.
Well, I think the first thing is the music. That's for me. Not too many other people do it that way, maybe, but I hear music that I relate to, that I love, and I start to work on a piece. I basically work on it by myself, even if it's for a group. Yeah, and you know, the intricacies of the rhythm are important. It gets to be a lot of fun working out. I start to dance on my own, is actually what I do, and then I refine it, and think of different patterns that could be made where people could work together, where they're working separately, if things should be done in canon. And it just becomes a great fun for me. So basically, I guess because of my early Duncan training perhaps, but I feel like I'm becoming one with the music, and that's how I work. And then the emotional quality comes out through that. Okay,
now how do you translate that once you've done it? Then you have your dancers, and you have to make it with your dancers. How do you proceed from there?
The first, I do show them the steps with the music. You know, you have to start with the reality of it. And we work it out. Generally, it works pretty well the way I had said it. Sometimes I have to make a few changes. And then they start getting into it. And if I find things are incongruous with my idea or with the way the other people are doing it, you know, I'll talk about the quality.
Yeah. Is there some collaborative kind of sense about it? I mean, is there that freedom among
at times
your dancers?
When I've worked with especially men, and I love to do lifts, different kinds of lifts, and they've had more experience because they're men and they do it all the time, so they help me. They help me. Yeah. But the idea is mine, and
yeah.
It's generally a creative experience for me.
Right, right.
And they interpret it.
Right, I see. Now tell us about your company. You have a company, Dance Visions. Tell us who you are, what the repertoire is, where you perform. Tell us about that.
Well, we're a group of dancers, some local dancers, some dancers from the city. We do some Duncan work, some work that I choreograph, which is actually very different, can be very different. Because I feel like the Sokolow work, the Duncan work are beautiful. I love doing them. But there's a lighter quality, sometimes a fun quality that is missing, you know, which for me is important, and I like to do those kind of pieces. Sometimes I use more popular music that I relate to. Sometimes music from the 60s, Donovan I love, the Beatles even. In addition, the other dancers are also choreographers, and it's not just about me, it's about their work. It gives it a versatility, it gives it different approaches. One of the dance choreographers works very differently than I do, doesn't use music at first at all, you know, it comes from the shape and the movement and her idea. One of the dancers is more of a ballet dancer, so his choreography is more balletic. Andrew Giannetti is a modern dance choreographer and has this company in New York. His pieces are, the music is more avant-garde music. Still, I think it's still very easy to relate to.
So you really have a wide variety of dances. I was very interested in what you said in this piece, that the company is composed of a core of 5 dancer choreographers. We perform each other's work as well as the works of the great dance pioneers, Isadora Duncan, Martha Graham, Anna Sokolow, Paul Taylor. And I guess you work with Anna closely, and also with Julia Levine and Hortense Coulouris, who's the other Duncan person. And you aspire to carry out the visions of these dance pioneers into the creative works of the present. I think that's very well said, and I guess therein lies dance visions. Yes, and you perform in such places. I mean, locally in Great Neck Plaza, at Stepping Stone Park. You have a summer series that you do in various parks, in libraries, and schools, at festivals. So you really, you know, you're around in a lot of places. And I do, at the end of the program, I will put a note up about. We'll just put something up where people can reach you about the free performances you're doing, because I know that you're going to be doing some of them. I'd also like to talk about your school, because you have a school which is called Children Dancing. It's now in its 7th year in Great Neck. And tell us about it. What do you teach, the ages of the children? Do you have a special approach to teaching dance? Tell us about it.
I teach children from 3 up. The oldest children are 13, 14 at this point. I teach adults too. I teach all sorts of dance. I have a creative dance for children that's very creative. It works on different themes, movement themes. For very young children, they're very simple.
Lovely for young children, I think.
Like paths or shapes, or we do story songs, things they can relate to, that mean something to them. They can experiment with their own ways of, you know, I'll give them like 2 rules, like the path has to be straight and the step has to be high, a high-level step. And they have wonderful fun experimenting with this.
Well, what is so wonderful, I think, about young children really exploring dance is at whatever point you can begin to be comfortable in your own body. Because as we look around us, we see so many people who are not.
That's right.
You know, and if you can get that initially, that's so terrific. But you teach jazz, you teach ballet.
I teach ballet. I teach, the modern dance I teach is a mixture of the Duncan work as well as creative dance, these movement themes, but a little more complicated, like muscular movement or light movement. I teach also Limon modern, which is based on fall and recovery and letting the torso move.
It's a beautiful technique.
And jazz, you know, theater dance, jazz, which I enjoy. I like all
and
these.
The school has grown. You have an enrollment, you said, of
It's about 85 now.
That's wonderful. That's really terrific. You must be doing something right.
Thank you.
You know, dancing is really the most demanding of all the arts. The need to keep your instrument in shape, the precariousness of the work. I mean, for all dancers, it's such a disgrace that we don't have some kind of national theater or national institution, not just to preserve all of dance, but to keep dancers dancing, you know.
Right.
What is your personal rehearsal schedule like? I mean, just in terms of your own personal self and work.
Well, during the year when I teach a lot of classes, so that takes up a lot of my time. Whenever I can, I go down to the studio and work on a piece of my own, which which I love to do. That's my
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah.
And I work. When we have a performance coming up is when I'll rehearse with
Yeah.
my dancers. I also rehearse with other companies, which I'm
Yeah.
involved with
Yeah.
sporadically.
Yeah, I know that you cherish the work of the dance pioneers, from Duncan to Paul Taylor. Is there a contemporary company or dancer whose work you really admire?
Oh, that's hard to say. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Paul Taylor I love.
Yeah, well, it's really wonderful.
Because it mixes all, as you said, these things are all mixed now. As the
Yeah.
world gets smaller, people bring in their own ethnicity to the
Yeah.
dances, and it
Yeah.
becomes one, which
Yeah.
I think is great.
Yeah. Do you have some upcoming performances? I mean, I don't know exactly when this program's going to be aired, but you do have things that are upcoming.
I love working with children. I love performing with children. They love it. They express so much themselves. I'm doing tomorrow a program at Manhasset Library with children called Sorceries Upon a Time, where we do Sorcerer's Apprentice and then fairy tales. I'm doing a program in Astoria next Sunday, the 4th of September, of Dance Visions. And first night Freeport, a free performance there on December 31st at 5 o'clock.
Why don't we put something up on the screen? Because if people are interested in coming to these performances, and I think they should be, why don't we give them a number that they can call? So let's put that up and then we'll come back.
Okay.
For information on free performances, call, and that's area code 516-482-2621, and you will be happy to tell them when all of that will be going about.
Sure.
Well, listen, our time has gone very quickly. I wanted to ask if your favorite wish were to come true, what would it be? And I guess it would be that you would just have more and more performances with your company and with your children and so forth.
Thank you. I feel like as I get older, I want to give it to other people and try to step away from it
to pass
a little
it
bit.
along.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I've enjoyed this very much. Thank you so much, Beth Jucovy.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Shirley Romaine for Artscene. See you next time.